Hello. So today I wanted to talk about falling out of our routines. So the reason I decided to do this topic today is because lately I feel like I cannot get back into my good routines. And I'm sure that there's times that this happens to all of us. There's times that we feel like we have it all under control, maybe not all, okay, I shouldn't say all under control. We feel like we have all of the basics under control. I never feel like we have everything under control because there's always something more to do. But when routines are working and I really feel like I have all the basic stuff getting done, I just feel fine. I'm good with everything. I'm keeping up with our basics. I know that everything might not be getting done that I'd like to get done, but I don't feel overwhelmed or super behind because I know at least certain things that need to be maintained on a regular basis are getting done. But then there's times that I just cannot keep with those routines. And then I start to feel a little bit overwhelmed by it. And I'm disappointed too that I'm not keeping up with the routines. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So what do I mean by these routines? So there's so many different types of routines that we have to help keep things in order in our lives. And I know some people say they don't follow routines, but most of us really do. Even if there's just a few routines that we don't really even think about, that we just do. Because all a routine is a sequence of actions regularly followed. That's what I found when I looked at the definition. So it's really just something we do on a regular basis in a certain order. We might have routines related to cleaning our home. Some of those might be daily routines. Some of those might be weekly or monthly or annual routines. We have routines to work on our finances, take care of our pets, go grocery shopping. We might have exercise routines or relaxation routines or any number of routines to cover things in our life that we do on a pretty regular basis. And sometimes, they get disrupted. It seems like routines tend to go along great when life is going really smoothly. And then something happens that disrupts those nice routines that you had built. It might be just like a change in season where your daily schedule is different. I know, like for me, in the summer, both of my daughters work at the boardwalk and they're at different locations on the boardwalk and they work different schedules. So I pretty much drive back and forth to the boardwalk all day, every day, in between working full time. So I know in summer routines are very difficult to stick to. So the thing that happens is that, I know at that time that I'm not going to be able to stick to routines, and I try and keep reminding myself that it's just for this time so that I don't think of it as, oh, I don't do those things anymore. But the thing is too that things that happen that cause us to fall out of our routines don't always necessarily just involve loss of time. Like for example, with me driving the kids back and forth to work, sometimes we just don't have the mental or physical energy to do the things we want to do. If you're struggling through like a financial situation or a medical issue or any other stressful situation, it could cause you to fall out of your routines. You might still have the time, but if you're just mentally drained and you just don't feel like doing certain things, you can very easily just skip them. Or you could even just be sick and have no physical energy and not be able to do something. It's fine to stop routines. I mean, you should stop routines if you need to. You don't want to make yourself go crazy when life is getting hectic because you're not getting certain things done. So it's important to acknowledge those routines that you have in place that you can stop temporarily when you need to. Like I know that there's certain things I just can't do at certain times. Like if we have a really super busy weekend and I worked all week and we had busy evenings, guess what? The shower is not getting scrubbed this weekend. Oh, and it might not get scrubbed next weekend either. It will get done when I get to it. Not that I don't want to get it done, but I'm not going to kill myself to get something done like the shower when it's more important that I just need to get the dishes done or like whatever I need to focus on as far as like very basic stuff that has to get done in the house when we're having like a super crazy time of life. The floors might be accumulating some dust in the corners and maybe the carpets need to be vacuumed, but we'll survive. It's just necessary to accept that at certain times, certain things just can't be done and they'll get done later. But the problem is that sometimes it can be difficult to get back into our routines when life does go back to normal, because we just sometimes can't remember like quite exactly how we did things and when we did them. And if you're someone like me that kind of overthinks things, I can tend to sometimes not do something because I can't remember what was the best way to do it. Procrastination. So one thing that I found helpful when you are going through a difficult time where you either just don't have time or mental energy is to kind of establish minimums for your daily routines. So these are the things that need to get done pretty much no matter what else is going on. So you might have like daily minimums or weekly minimums. So for example, my daily minimums are doing the dishes, feeding the animals, and cooking dinner. Like pretty much as long as those got done, we're fine. Like the bathroom might be getting dirty, the like I said, dust might be accumulating around us, but all the living things are taken care of. We have dishes to eat off of, the animals are fed, and we've had dinner. And I said cooking dinner, but of course if it's like really crazy, that might mean ordering dinner. But I guess I should have said dinner, dishes, feeding the animals. And even dishes, they could be skipped if needed, but you know that that's not going to be skipped in the long term because you need dishes to eat off of. So if you don't do them today, you'll get them done in the morning or whatever. But it's probably not going to go too long without getting the dishes done because then you just won't be able to eat. Or you won't have anything to eat or drink out of. So then I also have like weekly minimums, which are like cleaning the guinea pig cage, doing a water change in my fish tank, doing laundry, and watering the plants. So again, with the weekly stuff, laundry, that could be skipped if needed, but again, it's going to have to get done pretty soon or you're going to run out of clothes. So the reason that I feel like it's good to have these minimum routines is so that when you're having a really rough time, you have something to focus on and you can kind of say, okay, I just have to get these things done. Like I know if I have like a really busy day or weekend coming up, or even just week, or it's super busy at work and I'm stressed out or whatever, you know, if I get up Saturday morning and I'm like, okay, I just need to clean the guinea pig cage, water the plants, take care of the fish, I'm good. It just makes it feel much more manageable and not thinking like, okay, I got to do those. I got to get the bathroom done. I got to make sure that I update the checking. Like, I don't know, like all these different things that you have to do and do need to do on a regular basis. But during those really crazy times, just having those little handful of things that you're like, okay, as long as I get this done, we're good. And then I'll just deal with whatever else comes up today. That's really helpful to me in those really crazy times. So I guess what happens though is if we skip our routines a few times, it's usually pretty easy to get back to them. But when the situation continues for longer, it can be difficult to get back into our routines again. Like I said, we might forget exactly how we were doing something that seemed to work really well. So we might procrastinate until we can remember that what was that best way that we were doing it. Or we might even just be overwhelmed by starting back up on a routine. Say if you haven't like reconciled your checking or credit card statements for much longer than usual, you know it's going to be a lot of work to get caught up. So you might just keep putting it off, creating an even bigger job. And if we haven't yet been impacted by not doing the routine, we might question if we really even need to do it. And actually, it's actually a good time to question that. If you have a routine that you've been doing and you stop doing it and it's really made no impact on your life, maybe you don't need to do that anymore. Maybe replace it with something else that's more important. I mean, certain things take longer to impact. Like if you skip cleaning the shower a week, 2 weeks, whatever, you might not notice, but obviously you're not going to say like, well, I guess I don't need to clean the shower anymore because it had no impact. It's going to take longer to see the impact. But really consider, you know, if you're doing something that maybe isn't really necessary, maybe you thought it was and maybe it's just not. So it is a good time to kind of reconsider what your routines are and if you should put them back in place when you've had a period of time where you stopped doing certain things. The most important thing is that you don't want to just give up on your routines because, you know, you fell out of habit and, you know, you've just been like in a crazy period of time or for whatever reason. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a hectic time. Sometimes you could just actually be having a nice time that's not hectic. Maybe you're on vacation or like a staycation. Say, you know, you stayed home for a week and you didn't do anything and you just kind of let your routines go aside because you just wanted to like relax and maybe sit outside or go for a hike or whatever you were doing, and you didn't do your routines, and now it's kind of a little difficult to get back into them. But it's important to try and get back into them because they reduce the amount of decisions that we have to make each day. Like the more routines we can have in place, the easier our life goes, and the more we have time to deal with those other things that are not routine. And I know that a lot of people say, they don't follow routines, like I said before, but everybody has at least some routines. It's just like when you get ready in the morning, like you know the exact order you're going to wash your hair, brush your teeth, and so on. It's not like you sit there thinking, it's not like you get in the shower and think, what should I do first? You create routines in your life, and the more we can develop these in our lives and other things we do, the smoother things go. So just because you've fallen out of routines that you had in place, don't give up on getting them back. Just take it slow and, try something new if you need to. You don't have to follow the exact routines always. If you don't remember some great way that you were doing something, just start fresh. You'll figure out a way that works. Like once you start doing it, you'll figure out a way that works well for you, and it doesn't have to be the exact way you had been doing it in the past. And try and make your routines fun if you can. Even like when I'm reconciling our checking account and our credit card account on the weekend, I put something on TV in the background and kind of like half watch it while I'm like downloading transactions or clicking things off, maybe like a Netflix show or something like that. Actually, the only Netflix show I've ever watched so far is Anne of Green Gables, and it's based off Anne of Green Gables. It's called Anne with an E. I love that show because I love that book series, but I'm coming to an end, so I'll have to find something new that's good that I like while I do that. But it's just kind of fun because I'm not actually the type to normally sit down and watch any TV, so it made it kind of fun because it's like something that I'll just kind of put on and I'll sit there with my laptop and I download the transactions and reconcile, and I can pretty much watch. I mean, I'm kind of half watching, but I still know what's going on, and it just kind of makes it fun to get that work done while I'm doing something fun at the same time. When I do dishes or put away laundry, I love to listen to podcasts or audiobooks or anything like that you can kind of do to make the routine something to look forward to is always a good thing too, to kind of help you get back into your routines. And of course, the most important thing that I find in getting back to your routines, or really with getting into anything or getting anything done, is progress over perfection. So what helps me the most when I need to get back into a routine, when it feels like too much, is to really remind myself progress over perfection. And I literally say it to myself when I'm doing things. Like I'll actually be wiping down a sink in the bathroom and telling myself as I'm doing it, progress over perfection. I might be in there cleaning the bathroom and knowing that it really needs like a deep cleaning. I might be looking at the floor along the wall and think, ew, that's gross in this corner. That really needs to be like cleaned really well. But I know if I do that, then I'm going to be on the floor and I'm going to be scrubbing all the corners, and then I'm going to notice something else. And I don't have time for that. I just don't. I mean, maybe some days I might, but in the instances I'm talking about, I do not have time for that. So while I'm actually wiping down the sink, I will literally be telling myself, progress over perfection. It's much better to wipe down the sink and the toilet and have those clean rather than not do the bathroom because I can't do the entire thing. So it's 100% worth doing what I'm doing, even though I would like to have time to do more. So just remind yourself that as you are trying to get back into routines that you might have fallen out of, just do whatever you can and remind yourself that you are doing better by doing something than avoiding it completely. If, like I said in the example with your checking and credit cards, maybe you are so far behind that you just like, oh my gosh, I just can't even deal with this. Maybe reconcile like 2 days worth of activity. And maybe it's something you normally do weekly, but if you keep at that pace, you'll continue to fall behind. So maybe you say, okay, for the next week, I'm going to take 20 minutes and I'm going to do a couple days of activity each day until I'm fully caught up, and then get back into your routine. So just try to see if you can like break it down or just tackle it a little bit at a time until you can build back into the routines that you had before something changed, because it's going to keep happening. Like During our life, things happen and things change, and stressful situations come up that cause us to fall out of our routines. So it's not only good to have routine habits, but then it's good to have habits where we learn how to get back into those routines, like develop ways to make sure that we get back into our routines when that happens, and not just kind of throw up our hands and say, oh, well, that didn't work, and then just not get back into them at all, because they really are important in helping our lives run smoother. So that's all I have to say about today's topic. I hope this was enjoyable to you. Don't forget, you can always email me with any questions or suggestions at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at lolasfrugallife. You can find blog posts for each episode topic on my website at lolasfrugallife.com. You can join our listener group, our private listener group at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. And if you enjoy the show, please make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen from. And if you enjoy the show, please screenshot it and tag me on Instagram so I could see you're listening. Also, if you could take a couple of seconds to rate and review the podcast, that would be really helpful to me. Those ratings and reviews are what help get the show listed higher in search results when someone is looking for something with this type of topics. So, one other thing, there is a link to financially support the podcast if that's something you're interested in. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.